So guys, I am back. I am no longer pregnant. Obviously, if you guys watch the CTFXC, you know that. But I am back. I have settled in. I have a baby in our world now, and I am ready to get back into this and get this going. But what I wanted to do today was I kind of wanted to tell you guys my version of the labor and delivery for me, but also kind of give you an update. And obviously, if any of you guys out there are new moms or new parents, you guys know how hard it is with a newborn, especially if they're sleeping. I was going to show you guys her right off the bat, but she is sleeping, and one rule that I have learned is do not wake a sleeping baby. So she is sleeping out there. She is with Char right now, and I'm going to try and do this video as quickly as possible in the best way that I can. I'll tell you what, I've had her for almost a month now. She's amazing, she's wonderful. I love her. I am just so happy she's in my life, but she does dictate my time. So I'm gonna try and get this done the best way that I can, and hopefully I can get it done in a one take. So anyways, let's get into it. So first off, no longer pregnant. I had my daughter about a month ago, and she's amazing and beautiful and fun, and parenting is really incredible, but it is no joke. For anyone that ever thinks that it's an easy job, it's not. It is not an easy job. It's probably one of the hardest jobs that I've ever had in this entire world. I mean, not only are you taking care of a human, but you still have to take care of yourself and do everything else that you did before this person arrived. It's definitely hard. It's definitely taught me a lot in this first month of having her here, but I really do love it, and I'm so enamored with her. I just think she is like the coolest, most amazing thing in my life. I love my husband, love my dogs, love my family, love them all, but she is pretty darn cool, and I'm so happy that she's here. Anyways, let's get into the labor and delivery. So this is how it all started. I'm gonna start with the night before, because I think that's a really important part to the labor and delivery story. We had an issue with Char, my husband. Unfortunately, we had to go to the emergency room, and we were in the emergency room until about 12:30. And it was funny, we were in the emergency room, and you know, Charles, there's a lot of like waiting when you go to the ER. You're not really doing much. They're running tests, and you have to kind of sit there. So while we were sitting around waiting for some of Charles's tests to come back, I was sitting in a chair, kind of like this one, and I was leaning back, and my stomach was going nuts, going crazy. She was kicking, and I swear it was like she was trying to rip through, and I kept saying to her, and Charles and I were making a joke about it, and we're like, baby, you cannot come out tonight. You cannot come out tonight. You need to wait. This is not your day. This is not how you're gonna be born. We really were like so nervous that I was gonna give birth right there in the ER. But we also thought it was kind of funny, because we're like, well, at least we're at the hospital. So if I do go into labor, we're already at the hospital, and I would kind of be in the most perfect situation ever. But that's not how we wanted her to be brought into this world, having to go to the ER because of something that unfortunately happened with Charles, and just coincidentally being there. So thankfully, I did not go into labor then, and she was just going crazy in my stomach. I mean, literally crazy. It was like she was doing somersaults, and she was in a mosh pit, and she was doing whatever, scissor kicks. I mean, she was literally going berserk. We got home. By the time we got all settled in, and kind of just, you know, getting the dogs all handled and taking a shower and eating, because unfortunately we really didn't get to when we were at the ER. I would say that I went to bed around like 2 a.m. Now, I woke up at about 4:45 a.m. and that was kind of typical for me. The baby was, you know, on my bladder consistently, so I was having to pee a lot. So I got up to go pee. I went pee, walked back to the bed, and I had thought I peed myself. Now, a little TMI for a lot of people, but when you're pregnant, you have a baby sitting on your bladder, peeing yourself is not an uncommon thing. It happens often. It happened a lot with me. I am not ashamed of it. It just happens. So I assumed I had, you know, peed myself. And so I went, changed, went back to bed. Woke up an hour later, went to the bathroom. It was like 5:45 in the morning. And as I was walking back, I thought I peed myself again. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so tired. Like, I can't believe, like, I'm ready for this pregnancy to be over, because now I have lost all like strength in my area, to keep pee from, you know, from peeing myself. I lost all that strength. So I changed myself, went back to bed. Let me just remind you, I was super tired. So I wasn't really thinking that it was anything to be worried about, because one, there's no discoloration, which is something like when your water breaks, there's usually like a different color and it doesn't smell like pee. So I had pee, so I wasn't really I don't know. I just didn't think it was anything to worry about. So then I woke up at, I want to say it was like 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning, went to the bathroom and noticed that there was still a lot of water coming out, like a lot. I wasn't just peeing, there was like a lot of, you know, substance coming out, and it was a little bit pink hued, which is usually meaning your water broke. So I was very calm because I was really tired and I knew that Charles was super overwhelmed from the night before and I didn't want to overwhelm him. So I like calmly said to Charles, I said, "Hey Charles, I think my water broke." Very calm, very relaxed. I was trying to like keep it together, and he went berserk, like, "Oh my God, are you sure? Do you really think? Oh my God, we gotta run to the hospital right now. Oh my God, should we call an Uber? Oh my God, like what do we do?" I mean, just frantic. And here I am just trying to keep it calm and collected because I did not want to go to the hospital freaking out. I didn't want him to necessarily freak out, especially with what happened the night before. So I'm like, "No, Charles, just relax. I'm gonna call my doctor. I'm gonna let them know what's going on and see what they recommend." Obviously, they recommended that I go into the hospital. I was 4 days over my due date, and more than likely they thought it was potentially my water breaking. And if I had, you know, amniotic fluid leaking, you know, that's not necessarily good either, because you can't have your baby sitting around in nothing, and the amniotic fluid is what keeps your baby safe. So Charles continued to be a little frantic, and I tried to calm him down as much as possible. I actually took a shower, kind of cleaned myself up, made sure my bag was packed. I kind of went, not slow, but I went my normal pace in the morning because I wasn't having any contractions, I wasn't feeling bad, and I knew that I wasn't going to be sitting here for like 3 hours. I think it was from when you know, that moment when I thought my water broke at 9 a.m. By the time we got to the hospital, it was 10. So it wasn't a long period of time at all. I literally took a shower, brushed my hair, put on my comfy jeans and shirt, my sweater, grabbed my bag, and went to the hospital. The first thing that they did was they brought us into a room where they basically made me undress, and they checked, and they literally, as soon as they like lifted the sheet, they said, "Yes, girl, your water broke. You are in labor." Because I started having contractions when I was on my way to the hospital. I started feeling a little crampy, and it wasn't miserable. I would say that it was like a little bit of an elevated period cramp, and I felt it in the front of my stomach, not necessarily in the back, and let me tell you, that came later. But I started feeling a little bit of contractions. They told me I was about 3 centimeters dilated, which is really good. And they basically said, "Well, here we go. We're gonna go put you into the labor and delivery room, and like, best of luck," I guess. I don't even know if that would be the right thing to say, but you are in labor. That's pretty much what they said. You are in active labor, so you're gonna have a baby today. And that was crazy. I was like so excited and so scared, and honestly I don't know if it necessarily hit me at that moment in that particular room, but it was crazy. It was definitely crazy. And I will tell you this, when your water breaks, it is nothing like the movies. You know, I assumed it to be just like a gush of water, like all at once. Like I said it once in a vlog, but like squeezing a water bottle and all comes out at once, and that's not necessarily true. It's just like a constant draining. So just prepare yourself. Not everyone's water breaks on their own too. Like I know that some women have to get their water broken, but for me personally, it was not like a gush of water all at once. It was just a constant, your water breaks up until you have that baby. Like your water is constantly coming out until that baby comes. So that was a really interesting fact that I did not know. They bring me to the labor and delivery room, and I am actually pretty relaxed at that moment. I was hungry, which was funny. I ate breakfast, but I got really hungry, ordered some food. We got this amazing, huge room. My midwife had come in and was kind of just talking to me about, you know, how I was feeling, what was going on. I had mentioned to her that I thought I peed myself at 4:45 in the morning. So they said that's more than likely was my water breaking. So we had to kind of put a time frame on from when that happened up until 24 hours later, because with my water breaking, the risk of having a C-section after 24 hours is so much higher, and there's more risks in regards to, you know, like an elevated heart rate of myself or the baby, and bad things can happen. So I was kind of on a pretty strict time frame, not necessarily with them, but with me not having to have a C-section or something bad potentially going on. So at this point, I think when my midwife came in, she checked on me. She kind of mentioned what was going on. She said, you know, how are your contractions? They're not really progressing too quickly. And how do you feel about doing Pitocin? Originally, I did not want it. I did not want Pitocin. I was kind of against it because of everything that I've heard from people. I've read stuff, but I have to remember that it's all opinionated. Just a lot of people that I've talked to said, don't get Pitocin, it's insane and that's what makes you tear, and you know, yada yada yada. So it kind of freaked me out. I did not want to do it. I was really kind of against it. But I have to tell you, I loved my midwife. I had such an amazing team, an amazing like labor and delivery group of women that were just so spectacular, and I trusted my midwife so much, and I knew that she was not going to make me do anything that I did not want to do. So when they offered up the idea of Pitocin, I asked if I could think about it. You know, could I sit here and see if the contractions progress, and you know, maybe they'll not be so far apart after a couple hours. And they were totally for it. A couple hours passed, and I wasn't progressing quickly enough. My husband and I decided that we're gonna go ahead with the Pitocin. We started off on a really low dose and then gradually increased it every, I think it was like 20 minutes. So I was in an active labor on Pitocin, having crazy contractions for probably, I think it was like 5 hours. And I will tell you what, it was intense. Like, Pitocin is no joke. Contractions are no joke. Like, holy cow. The pain was just, it was insane. It was insane. And it's also so crazy because it's like such a rush of pain, and then it goes away. And it's like you have time to breathe and relax. But then when it comes, it's just so intense, and it can last for a minute, it can last for, you know, 30 seconds, it can last for 2 minutes. And they're insane, and they hurt so bad. And I am not gonna sit here and tell you that like I toughed through it, and well, I did, but like I'm not gonna sit here and say that I was a superwoman and I didn't cry and I didn't get emotional, because that would be a total lie, because I did. After being on the Pitocin for a couple hours and then gradually increasing it, I got to a point where I couldn't handle it anymore. And I ended up getting an epidural. I have never been against an epidural. I have said from the very beginning that I would have loved to try natural, but I also did not want to put myself in a position that I couldn't get my job done. So like if I was too tired from, you know, dealing with contractions and the pain, and I, at the end of the day, couldn't, you know, deliver my child because I was so exhausted, that would be me in my eyes not doing what I needed to do to make sure that she was safe and I was safe. So I got an epidural, and it was really amazing. It was great. I felt amazing. I had a good 20 minutes of sleep. I really needed that because I had very little sleep from the night before, being that, you know, by the time I got to bed it was like 2 a.m. and I was constantly waking up. So I needed that. I needed that 20 minutes, and I think Charles needed that 20 minutes of sleep too. Once I got that epidural, I did not know that there was like a little button where you could increase your epidural. I didn't know that at all. So I mean, you can still feel a lot, but you don't feel those contractions. Well, I didn't know that you can increase the epidural throughout this process. So I started feeling all the contractions again because they had upped my Pitocin like, I don't even know how much. So let's just say if it was on a scale from like 1 to 20 for the amount that they push into you, when I got the epidural, it was at like an 11 or 10, and then when the epidural was going, it was at like a 20. So the epidural started to wear off, and I started feeling those contractions immensely, and it was really kind of crazy because I was like, oh my god, I wouldn't say that I was having it was no comparison, I'm sure, to natural birth, but I started feeling those insane contractions that women that have a natural birth with no assisted help, I guess you would say. I applaud you. I applaud you women, because I know that what I felt was nowhere near the severity of what you feel, and it was hard. I was shaky from the medicine. I was shaky from the pain. I was overwhelmed with emotion from like what was going on. It was a crazy, crazy, crazy moment. Crazy moment. And it got to a point where the pain was so intense, and I was like, I thought I was about to deliver. I really did. There was a part of me that was like, oh my gosh, these contractions are so intense, and now I'm getting this other feeling. And they say, which is very true, when you feel like you have to poop and you can't hold it back, that you are ready to deliver this baby. And I was like, okay, well, that's really interesting. I didn't expect it to be such an intense feeling, but I will tell you what, I felt like I was gonna poop, and I told Charles, I'm like, you gotta go get that nurse. I think this baby is coming. So she came in and she goes, well, listen, I want you to tell me, like, if that feeling and the contractions, if that feeling only comes with the contractions and it dissipates, you know, from contraction to contraction, then that doesn't necessarily mean that you're ready to push. She said that once that feeling, it goes through the contraction and then through the lull part, then back into the contraction, like one consistent time frame, then that means you're ready to push. So she literally left, and I'm like laying there and I'm like, Charles, it's consistent, like it's consistent. I can feel this like need to poop all the way through these contractions, through the lull parts. I'm trying to hold this back. I'm trying to hold myself back. And so he ran out, got the nurse, and she came back in. She's like, all right, I'm gonna check you, see if you're dilated enough. And sure enough, I was 10 centimeters dilated and we were ready to go. So she had me push and she's like, yep, you're ready to go. And I was so scared. I was so unbelievably scared. I knew that obviously being pregnant, it leads up to this point, that baby's got to come out one way or another. For those of you that don't know, I've always had a really, really, really strong fear of labor. I just have. I've been afraid of dying during labor, or something going wrong, or bleeding out, like really unfortunate negative thoughts about what could happen when delivering a baby. So I was petrified. I was so scared. I didn't know what to expect. I was sure that something would go wrong. And then I got to a point where I remember talking to Char, and we actually don't have it on film, but he was just telling me that it's gonna be okay. You can get through this. You got through all these contractions. You got through some tough parts in your pregnancy. You can do this. I know that you can do this. And I started getting support from the labor and delivery team, all the nurses, you know, telling me I can do this. My midwife being so supportive and telling me that I can do this and that they're not gonna let anything happen to me. And it was really weird because I would say that it was like a really instinctual moment for me too, because when I started pushing, I wanna say that there was this like aggressive side of me where I did not want to not give my all. So when I was pushing, I mean, I was pushing. I was at the point where I pushed so hard, I felt like I could feel my entire body being pushed out of the bottom part of my body. So the whole top of my body being pushed out of the bottom part of my body. And I was pushing as hard as I possibly could because I quite literally was done. I was done. I was ready to meet this baby. I didn't want this to last any longer. And honestly, I think that I was trying to push back the fear that I was experiencing in that moment. It was crazy. I got tunnel vision and I got so focused, and I reminded myself that I was there to do a job. And my job was to get that baby out, and to get that baby out safely, quickly, and for both her and myself to be safe and healthy as well. And I pushed with all my might. That's all I'm gonna say, is I pushed with all of my might. It was crazy. It was a crazy, crazy experience. I mean, just delivery is insane. Delivery is insane. Contractions are insane, but delivery is like the craziest feeling for me, to be completely honest, knowing that your body can push a human out. like it was just, that was probably the craziest part for me. Contractions were insane because they felt miserable, but delivery was really, really insane for me. This is the part where it might be a little too much info, but I'm gonna give it to you anyways. So as we're doing delivery, you know, I can feel her like moving down, which was really crazy, and it didn't hurt. Like, that was the part that I was really thinking was gonna be really bad, is that as she's moving down the birth canal, I thought that it was gonna be really, really super painful, and it actually wasn't that bad. But the pushing, you know, that was a lot of work. It was a lot of work to push her down to where she needed to be. So as I'm doing this, you know, I'm getting a lot of support from all these women. Once she crowned, I felt that. You feel the baby's head coming out, and I remember feeling her crowning and them just telling me just to like wait a few minutes and let her stretch me. That's when it really started to get intense for me. It was super painful because I did end up tearing. I had a 2nd-degree laceration, and there was a part where, I mean, I never gave up pushing, which is something that I was really proud about with myself, is that I did not give up pushing. Like, I pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed with all my might. And so I'm really proud of myself for that. And maybe that's vain or whatever, but I was super, super proud that I never said I couldn't do it. I had to get this baby out. But anyways, so I ended up, as I'm pushing her, I felt it, and I could feel myself tearing, which was really rough. It hurt so bad. It was so painful. Super painful. And I will tell you that that experience was hard, but I don't regret it happening, because it's really powerful what your body can do. Like I said, it's really powerful to see what your body can be put through. Crowning and pushing, and there was a part I said I'm never gonna be a screamer. I'm like, I'm not gonna scream, I'm not gonna yell, I'm not gonna do any of those things. And as her head was coming out, I remember I like leaned back, and I like let out like 3 like kind of, not screams, but just like powerful sighs, I guess would be it. And I started crying a little bit, and my whole team and my husband were just like, Allie, you can do this. I know you can do this. I know it hurts, but you gotta push through the pain. So I literally let out these 3 like powerful sighs. I guess it would be a scream. And once I did that, I think I pushed 3 more times and got her out. I delivered that baby, my beautiful baby girl Remy, in less than 25 minutes. And I will tell you, all that pain, it's true, it goes right away once that baby is in your arms. And it was so beautiful, so magical. I'm glad I got to experience it, and it makes me teary-eyed, because it's so crazy to know what your body can do, and to see the end result, which was her. And for me being so scared and so terrified throughout my whole pregnancy about the end result, like to see that what the end result was, which was her in our arms, and her being such a miracle, because she's such a miracle baby. It just made everything just so worthwhile. All the pain, all the sleepless nights, all the craziness that happened leading up to her, it really does make it so incredible and such a beautiful experience. Because labor and delivery are so hard, but it is oddly beautiful. It's just, I can't explain it to you how I felt. I mean, you can watch a video of someone going through, you know, contractions and delivering their baby, but what you personally go through it, being that person, is just so insane and so magical. And I only wish that everyone can experience it, because it is crazy cool. Hard, but crazy cool. That was just how it happened. And once she was there, Char and I were so just in love with her and enamored by her, and you know, they put her on my stomach, and it was love like I've never experienced before, and continues to grow. I mean, I loved her when she was in my belly, but it was just crazy being able to see her like this real human being on my chest. And that was another thing, I didn't actually get to see her face. She was so long, she was like pushing off of my legs up into my neck, and she was almost 22 inches long. She was super long, 7 pounds, 10 ounces, and she was born on July 11th at 8:59 p.m. and 59 seconds. So she was literally born right at the end of visiting hours, which was really funny. But she came out, she was beautiful, full head of hair, and we're just so in love with her, and it's just crazy. It's crazy to have a baby now, and I just can't wait to watch her grow. So I hope you guys enjoyed that labor and delivery story. I feel like I was a little all over the place, but I typically am anyways. I'm gonna show you guys her really quick. She's probably sleeping, but I'll show you guys her. I really hope you enjoyed that. I hope you enjoyed that. I know it was very long-winded, but I felt like it was important to kind of really go into detail and tell you how I was feeling, even though a lot of it is a little bit of a blur for me. But I will also put the link in the description below to our birth vlog, because I think it was so beautiful. Charles and I worked really hard on that, and we wanted to make sure that, you know, for us to show that birth vlog, we wanted it to be very real about our emotions and what I was going through that day, what he was going through that day. He was such a great support system. I'm so thankful for him. He made that day so much better for me and just so much more magical. I'm so thankful for my husband, and like I continue to say, the delivery team, the labor and delivery team were just incredible. But be sure to go and watch that vlog down there, and I really hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you are brand new, don't forget, subscribe and hit the thumbs up button, and I will see you guys next time. Bye guys. This is little Remy, everyone. Sorry I didn't show you guys her right off the bat, but she's our sleeping little angel baby. Yes, she is.